So this has been confirmed by the Dirty Sheets by Billy Body, and basically the gist of it is that The Rock is back, and The Rock will be back in a full-on capacity. And the reason for The Rock coming back is because The Rock didn't want to come back after Black Adam flopped and have news of Vince McMahon potentially being involved in another legal issue or being viewed as a rapist by the general public, coming out and biting him in the ass on top of Black Adam being a flop. So, he's basically protecting his brand, which is very, very smart. You know what I mean? I don't blame him for doing that. And he kind of figured he would sit it out. So everything was scrapped and they went with Cody. Now that we have new ownership in WWE, now that it's Endeavor, now that it's TKO, they can fire Vince McMahon if something pops back up again. And obviously Vince has been handsomely paid, and The Rock can still come back and do stuff and it won't affect him. So wrestling fans out there that are watching this show, marks that are watching this show, expect it, live with it, deal with it. Roman Reigns versus The Rock at WrestleMania. It is going to happen. And because of that, at some point between now and then.
Yeah, but Rocky's not winning. I'm getting another shirt next year for Roman Reigns winning back-to-back pay-per-views. Rock isn't winning that. Hell no.
Well, you're going to have to, especially if your Cowboys keep playing that way. But I couldn't help it. I have to.
That's okay.
I mean, shit, we might lose to the Cardinals this weekend. We don't know, But yeah, dude, fully expect The Rock at WrestleMania. Get used to it. They're not finishing the story. And at some
it was a
point,
stupid story anyway.
I think it's a good story. I think he's the guy. I think he's going to be the guy.
Dusty Rhodes, baby. How dare you be saying that about the son of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes?
Dusty Rhodes liked Roman Reigns more than he liked his own son. So
you might not be wrong. Be wrong.
I'll
tell you.
I think that's what we're going to be getting in the meantime, right? So because of Roman and Rocky working together at WrestleMania, we're now going to get John Cena and Cody at some point. So that's going to be a big match. That could potentially be a WrestleMania match. That might even happen in Saudi Arabia, or we might just get John Cena taking on somebody in Saudi Arabia, which John Cena is probably going to be going there. In other news, though, this one's going to be interesting for a select portion of the audience and perhaps 1/3 of this triple threat here tonight.
Okay.
But it looks like at the upcoming Fastlane pay-per-view, it's going to be John Cena and LA Knight taking on Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa, right?
Yeah.
Now, this is all if Knight gets better from COVID and all that stuff and he's cleared in time to be able to come back.
I'm sure
it looks like Knight is going to pin a member of the Bloodline in that match, and it is going to lead to a crown jewel matchup in November between Roman Reigns and LA Knight for the Undisputed Championship. So
that building might explode. That building might explode. That building's going to explode. It's going to explode.
That's interesting that John Cena would tag with a guy who's very similar to a guy he helped kick out of the company, and Mr. Kennedy. I think that's pretty interesting.
That's Macho, a great observation.
I love this guy. We gotta keep this guy every week here. I don't care. We gotta keep this guy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of. I've slowly become a fan of LA Knight because he helps me appreciate the Attitude Era. I like to look at movies like I personally liked Black Adam, right? And I was like, okay, when I watched Black Adam, I thought of Commando. I was like, yeah, I loved Commando as a kid. Like that was awesome. It was like outrageous. So I enjoyed it. That's kind of how I look at LA Knight. When I watch him, I'm just like, hey, The Rock and Austin had a baby. Like, and this is who we got.
Unbelievable. This, I'll tell you.
I mean, look,
I think he's great with it.
I think it's good. I think it's good for him. I think this is a positive step forward for him, working with the Bloodline, working with Roman. Yeah. Throw him into the fucking fire. Let's see how he does. You know what I'm saying? At worst, he comes out in a Sami Zayn position or a Cody Rhodes position or a Kevin Owens position.
Absolutely.
Those guys are super over. They're super hot. So, I mean, you just need another star,
Those
this
are great
his
points.
Moment.
Yeah, those are really great points, but you do understand that if he comes out in a Daniel Bryan position, it could ruin a lot of things.
It could, but I don't see it happening, man. I just
You don't think his fan base would get that behind him?
Nah, bro. More than The Rock? for WrestleMania.
Well,
No.
More than Cody. He's
one's
gonna get a
saying
better
it.
response than Cody. I'm sorry, dude, but Cody's a better talker than LA Knight.
No, I get it.
Cody's a better talker.
No, Pat, I get that. But I remember when we talked about this last time we were at a Devil game. Actually the Devil season ticket thing. We went to at Prudential. We were talking about this over a beer. Listen, little by little, Sean Ricker, I think, has made the most of his chances now in being featured more prominently. Obviously, listen, getting certain pops. We know that Paul Levesque production team are there in the building. They hear it. They've seen what merch does. Obviously, he's featured now in the commercials. We'll see. Is it something that's seasonal, like the flu? Maybe. We're going to find out. But if he continues at this pace of getting a good reaction, getting good merch sales, cutting, promos have been fine. I don't think there's one promo you're going to be like, you're going to like hold your nose at, like you're walking into the voting booth or something. I think it's incrementally, I think he's become better. Now, having said that, if by the time we get to Tampa in January for the Royal Rumble, and he's still continuing, based on what you're saying to me, he pinned someone from the bloodline, arguably maybe Jimmy Uso. I don't know if they want to pin Solo. I think they're kind of being very protective of Solo, and rightfully so. I think this is a guy that has a big future, and you don't want to sort of, taint him too much. But by the time he fights Roman, if that's the plan in Saudi Arabia, and then getting to Tampa for the Royal Rumble, to Macho's point, if he continues that sort of upward trajectory, it might throw a wrench into the plans. Like, what do you do? Do you have Rollins defend the title on night one against Knight or against Cody? Is it a fatal four-way? Could you? I mean, there's a plethora of possibilities here.
There are, man, but I just think that he's in the position he's in. I don't think it's going to catch on anymore, man. I don't think it's going to get to that point, man. I mean, look, he's first of all, you can't compare him to Bryan Danielson because Bryan Danielson is a sympathetic figure. You look at Bryan Danielson, he can already get you behind him. If he's getting beat up, you're going to, like, most wrestling fans are going to root for him. The way you're presenting LA Knight's more like Steve Austin. He doesn't really work from underneath. Bryan Danielson was like that underdog guy that the fans got behind. Similarly to Sammy. Sammy was kind of in that position as well. Mick Foley, guys like that. They become sympathetic characters. LA Knight's not a sympathetic character. What do you sympathize with? You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I feel sympathetic, for the fact that LA Knight doesn't have a title. He's going to get a fucking title eventually. Something's going to happen to the guy. But you don't feel bad for him when you're looking at him. You know what I'm saying? And that's the big difference between him and Bryan Danielson. And that's why I don't think he's ever going to be in that position. Sammy had a better shot of being in that spot. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Sammy still kind of does at any point because he's still so fucking over. Mm-hmm. What I think is good about this is you can show that he's ready to take that next step. And, to your point, he's had good reactions. He's moving merch. He's doing all the right things. But he still hasn't had that moment. He still hasn't had that transcendent match, that moment that takes him from mid-card to main event. And I think that this matchup with Roman Reigns has the potential to do that. And I think we could potentially see a different LA Knight.
I think the promos alone leading up to that confrontation, I think would be great. Obviously, with Heyman being involved, Roman, certainly the bloodline, what it means. I know there was some rumors last week that had it not been for him catching COVID, that he would have shown up to be John Cena's partner for Fastlane.
Yeah. Again, that was the plan.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see if that's still the case. Obviously, moving forward, I think there's a big upside for him. And we'll find out, obviously, based on what you're seeing with the news of The Rock and obviously everything else. And listen, as much as fans want to see The Rock and John Cena on TV, and they're going to move merch and get ratings and traffic, and ultimately, we do want to see the writer's strike end and these SAG workers back to work. I mean, again, as movie fans, right, as comic book fans, we do want to see Deadpool 3 kind of get back into production. We do want to see You on Netflix get back into production. We do want to see other series eventually.
Yes. I want to see Stranger Things before the kids are like 30.
Yes. Sure, no, absolutely. Yes. Absolutely.
I want to see Deadpool just for Gambit alone. That's it. Just give me Gambit.
Yes. Absolutely. Guys, our main event topic here, and the reason I thought about this is because obviously you two being workers, I think would appreciate this, is